outside, just waiting, for the call so that they can come out, because there's no running away from the fact that everybody is so scared. The decrepit and broken state of the nation with the president. He's failed to launch this nation into the future. This president has been with history, and he has had no interest in fixing the economy.
Hello, Patricia. How is Ireland? So again, we're just waiting for this imminent resignation from Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Hopefully he's resigning. We know that they've reported that he's writing his speech. So as soon as he's done writing his speech, he's going to go live. It's about 23 minutes to 6 where I am, so it's about 23 minutes to 8. And Caesar Zwai has just tweeted that the president is going to address the press from State House. And so we're just waiting. Samson, praise. Unjani, praise. I can't remember now. Praise. How do you say? How do you say that in Sutu, by the way? Praise, danke. I know you're watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Sam. So praise. We're just waiting here for the president, the current president. He's already been dismissed by his own political party, and now we're just waiting for him to dismiss himself, fire himself, because basically he's been fired. So now we're just waiting for him to fire himself or to tender his resignation. Something we never thought we would see. We never thought we would see that. But one thing that I would like to say, as this is taking place, I know people are euphoric, they are celebrating, but I think the real work starts as soon as he's made that resignation. The real work starts, and the real work means that instead of waiting for the next, whoever takes over, the next person to fail, we need to start monitoring them on a daily basis. We need to start asking them questions. Let me just change. I like this here. Yeah, that looks better for me. So let's try black and white. Yeah, so like I was saying, what we really need to be working on is making sure that we hold whoever takes over, we start holding them accountable. But my flag is not going to show properly, so I need this here. That will show my color flag. So what we need to start doing is we need to start asking questions from day one. So we need to find out exactly what these guys are doing. If Emerson takes over, as is expected, we need to find out exactly what deals is made with the Chinese, because we've been complaining. A lot of people have been complaining about some of these deals. Some of them are called mega deals, and would like to know exactly what is in those deals, because we seem to be losing capital out of the country. I mean, I've had people tell me that in some cases when they go mining for some product or some mineral, which some of us don't even know what the mineral is, but they know what it is, they mine it, they take everything including the soil, and then they just leave a big pit, a big pit, so it's environmentally unfriendly what they're doing. And I know there are strips of air there. There's an airport strip in Chiado, for example. That airport strip is is being used to basically take diamonds or whatever else they're taking. Another tweet. On Twitter. Something is going on there. So before I get any questions, if you have any questions, or just answering, one of my friends had asked me what I think is the way forward for the economy. Now, what I'd like to suggest is, obviously, I've got some idea of what we should do for the economy, but really it's up to the people who understand the economy, the people who understand it better than myself, to use media such as this Facebook Live, use media to communicate to people and to give ideas of what we can do as a country. You can only give ideas, and the more ideas you give, the better you become at explaining them, the more of an expert you become at that. So on my part, I've been looking at, I'm a physics specialist, I'm an educator, and I would be interested in education. So I could answer some questions on education, but I'm also looking a lot at the blockchain. The blockchain is the latest, it is evolution. It is the evolution of the internet. The internet is basically a centralized, which has become kind of distributed, but it's still very much centralized. I'll carry on with that. Yes, Dazichuapo, I think we are about to turn a new leaf, but I would not say it's a destination. I think what always happens with anything that we do, anything that we want to achieve, is that what is more important is the process of getting there other than actually getting there. It's like you study for examinations, and it is the process which is rewarding rather than the actual result. When it comes, initially you are euphoric, then soon after that you are wondering what to do next. So the result itself is not the major trophy, it is the process. So I think we are coming to the end of one process, which is just to make sure that we have a change of leadership at the top. But that doesn't automatically mean that the next leadership is going to answer all our problems. I think we have a long way to go in terms of, because we don't know what we're going to get. We don't know if Emerson takes over. We don't know how long he's going to be president. If he can be changed as soon as possible, maybe that will be good for the country. So we don't know. We don't know what the plans are. We don't know if he's just going to finish Robert Mugabe's term, then we have elections. We don't know whether that will be too disruptive. We don't know whether there's going to be a coalition government with the opposition. If there's a coalition government, we don't know how long it's going to take. So yes, we are about to reach a destination, but I would say it is a destination which is actually the beginning of the next phase. The next phase, which is still uncertain, because until we get a clear picture of who is going to lead the government from today, after Mugabe's resignation, we don't know what is going to happen. But I think what the culture should become now, what we should start doing, is to start asking questions from day one. So instead of waiting for things to go wrong, like we did from 1980, and I'll give you an example of how I think things started going wrong, but we didn't really realize that things were going wrong. Where I grew up, where I lived in the suburbs in Bulawayo, where I lived, we started having problems with the sewage system. So there will be a problem with the sewer pipes, but it will take about a week or two for them to come and fix. So it started off as it would take a few days for them to turn up, and then it would take a few weeks, and then it would take a few months, and then now it's like it's years. So these things started deteriorating from the early 80s because we were not holding these people accountable. Okay? And I think they got used to the fact that they are not being held accountable, and so they continued on the path. And I think we got used to the fact that, if you call the council for a problem with the sewer pipes, it is normal for them to take days or weeks or even months to come and do something about it. So I think that they are showing old pictures of the graduation. I'm just watching Sky News from my home here and awaiting that resignation speech or press conference. If it is a resignation, who knows? The guy might turn up and do something out of the ordinary, something completely different. But he's expected, everyone is expecting him to do that. Okay, so that is one of the problems that I started to observe as a young boy growing up. And I think we just got used to the fact that Nonoka. The other thing which was happening was that if the street lights had a problem, like if the street light needed changing, especially the one right in front of the house. And one of the things that we began to realize was that whenever it stopped working, it was because criminals would come and deliberately knock it down. And when they did that, you knew that they were planning to do a raid on one of the houses close to that. So soon enough they would come and maybe they would try to break into the house. And so part of their plan was to knock the lights out so that to provide cover for themselves, like in case they want to come in and break into one of the houses there. So it always used to take time for so Patricia, I don't know if you're still there. Patricia, Praise, Samson, Stanley, Joseph, Martha, William, and Tazika. Tazika, you had an interesting question on the economy, which I've explained in the last, but I think I'm going to go through that again. So I think the problems that we have is we started holding government accountable very late on when we realized there was a problem. But for like 15 years, I think the first 10 years, we had all these economic adjustment programs. Things were starting to deteriorate, but we really had trust in the government. We started to lose trust in the 96, 97, especially 98, 99, and a strong opposition was formed. And that opposition, let me see. That opposition has been in opposition now for like 17 years, the MDC. And so some kind of accountability started taking place. Okay? But what I would suggest now is that we should actually start making these guys accountable from day one. Okay, so no sacred questions. They have to answer all the questions that we have. If they can't answer some questions, then they are going to fall into the trap of losing trust, of losing credibility, and that is going to affect the economy, because whoever is coming in has many issues to sort out. But I think from the results of the march, we can see that Zimbabweans can be united around something. So if a leader comes in who can unite the people around common causes, I think they are going to have a good shot at running this country, but they need to be able to listen to people. They need to be able to listen to the different constituencies. That's what leadership is all about. You don't specialize in one thing. You have to have a good ear and be able to listen to a lot of what is happening. And one of my friends made a comment earlier, say, why do we need an opposition if we can have a party which can reform itself and start solving problems? And that is a problem, because if you look at the Americans and the British, they have two major parties in their countries. And these parties, it's rare that a party can win more than 2 elections. They can win 1, 2, and then they are replaced, and then the other party wins 2 elections, and then they are replaced. Maybe at most it can go for 3 terms, but it's difficult to go for up to 4 terms without being replaced, because you become complacent, and unless you are challenged by people who are looking, people who are also professional, who are looking at your policies and trying to come up with their own policies. Yes, Andy, how is South Africa? Thanks, man. Yeah, so I'm just awaiting the speech by or rather the press conference, which is called, which I think everyone is thinking that is going to tender his resignation. But you never know. He's a Willie Fox. He might come up with something. He might come up with new demands, which is one of the things I hear has been happening, is that his demands have been changing or been mutating, and that has been causing a lot of delays in coming up with. But as a person who has always relied on the people, they've always mobilized. If they want to sack someone, they will mobilize, and all the provinces will have a vote of no confidence. The youths will march and all that. He's always relied on people and always used people as the reason why he's still in power. The reason why he would not resign, because he says he didn't want to disappoint people. But now the same people that has been talked about have overwhelmingly, and I'll explain why I think people turned up to that march. People turned up to the march, I think, for different reasons. I think that the protagonists, or the guys who were initiating the coup, which is not really a coup, but is a coup, okay, those guys, especially Emerson, if Emerson obviously is heavily involved in that, the general, there are rumors that he had been dismissed, he had been sacked, and he refused to go. We don't know, and it's difficult to ascertain that. And I don't, unless I get an official statement as to exactly what happened. That's just a rumor, but that's besides the point. So the point is that he felt threatened. I remember at one of the rallies, the First Lady actually challenged him to shoot her. So I think there was bad blood between them, and I think because of that, I'm okay. Andy, how are you? Andy, compadre, ¿cómo está, compadre? Aquí estoy bien. So I think the problem is that Chiwenga also felt maybe that he was going to be fired, or he was actually fired, we don't know, and refused. Emerson had been fired already, and these guys were supposedly a faction of ZANU-PF, so they were G40, they were a faction of ZANU-PF, and they were also promising to fire about 100 people who are loyal, who were said to be loyal to Emerson. And even before that, they had fired quite a number of people, and these people had been fired because they were deemed to be loyal to Joyce Mujuru. We know that Joyce Mujuru was also dismissed from her position as the vice president of the country and the ruling party. And so those people, Emerson and Chiwenga and other security chiefs, I think they had their own selfish motive for staging this change of leadership as quickly as it was done. and involving the army itself. Okay, yes, it is a smart coup because it has received the support of everyone, which is why the people who went to do the march, okay, to them it was removing Robert Mugabe, because this is something that they've been trying to do for years. The opposition has been trying to remove him through the election process, because the MDC is a democratic party. It's a social democratic party, and it believes in the peaceful transfer of power, but which has proved to be a method which a lot of people have actually lost hope that the MDC would ever get into power through an election. But you know, the alternative is a violent overthrow, short of saying a coup, and we know what happens to coup plotters. The government would simply execute whoever attempted to do that. And the MDC does not have the technical power anyway to do that. They do not have. We do not have an army or a police force, you know, because the security services have all been captured by the one political party, by ZANU-PF. So they were loyal, which is why in 2008 the generals had pledged that they would not salute anyone who won an election who had no war credentials. So they were protecting themselves. So with the generals, they were protecting themselves. Emerson also in there for his own selfish ends, because he's been fired as the deputy president and also as the deputy president in the party, and the other faction, the G40 faction, they knew was going to automatically take over government and should probably become a VP and maybe eventually also become the president of the country. Okay, so there was that. So the way the coup was done was to ensure that, to avoid the intervention of the African Union or SADC, because obviously if it's deemed to be a violent coup, then they could send in troops, and if they sent in troops, then it was going to be difficult to achieve whatever they wanted. But because there's going to be a press conference, they have achieved what they wanted by involving the army, by involving the people, and also by ensuring that the African Union and SADC accept that this is a corrective measure within the country, which is bloodless, which is not causing any loss of life. But we don't know, because there are rumors that perhaps up to 7 people actually died as a result. I think there is only one confirmed, that of one of the guards of Chombo, who was shot and killed when they raided Chombo's house. Okay, so we await this. One of the things, of course, I was asked about the economy, and I think there are opportunities because the internet, okay, opened up a number of applications. Let's see. They keep repeating that. Update when it goes live. Yeah. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I will inbox you when the guy is resigning, so that you can park, and then you can have a look and see. Okay. So there is but you know, with these news organizations, they always say imminent or shortly, and then it probably takes another hour before that happens. So I'll probably also take a rest, and when it's about to get there, unless you be any questions, I'll probably... Tsano, how are you? Tsano Pride. Yeah, so I think I'll be back in about half an hour, because you know these people, they always say imminent. I'll keep an eye on Twitter and see. And it's still breaking news. Maybe I should have written as well, breaking news. Yeah. He's agreed to step down and is working on his resignation speech. Yeah, he's working on his resignation speech. We hope it's not the wrong speech. Zimbabweans will understand what I mean by that wrong speech. Okay, guys, I'll be back as soon as I think, or as soon as they set up, so that we can experience this historic moment together on social. And one thing I'd like to say, though, guys, is I think one of the things that we need to start doing is we all have different competencies, we all have different specialisms, and I think that there's a problem there. Caesar is having a go, is fighting someone on Twitter. I'm just going to go and see what's happening. So, I think we have different competencies, we have different specialisms, and what we should actually be doing is maybe sharing some of that expertise with the rest of our friends who may be interested in finding out. Little man, stop it. Okay, guys, I'll be back there.